Wax Junkyard right here on your classic metal show from their debut self-titled release with Simple Man and Chris on the phone. We got a guy who is far from simple. He's a guy who's very complicated, as a matter of fact. Good friend we've known for literally decades now, so we want to welcome back to the Classic Metal Show our good friend Hairball John. What's going on there, John?
I am just hanging with you two tonight. So.
As you should, John, as you should.
This is the highlight of my weekend.
I bet it is.
Yeah. What's going on with you guys? You're nothing but simple either, you know.
Well, we're obscene is what we are, John. We're not the squeaky clean radio hosts that you pretend to be.
Well, that didn't take you long, did it, Neely? We'll just go ahead and go right at it. Don't even need gloves. We're just going to go bare knuckle.
Of course. Of course. No, it's always good to have you, John. It's been a while since we've had John. And, boy, I'll tell you what, I had to talk about you here on the show a couple of weeks ago because I see all the goings on, especially through our good friend with Corey over there at United Rock.
Rock?
Uncontrolled Noise. Sorry, I'm just thinking way back.
I guess.
Corey knows. Corey knows who he is. He's good.
Yeah, our good friend Corey Harker over there at Uncontrolled Noise, and it's you've almost like taken over the place.
Yeah, I guess that's what happens when you open the door a little bit for me, and I just kind of squeak in. And next thing you know, you can't get me out.
Well, John, let's talk about what's going on, man, because it's I mean, you obviously you've been back in the scene for a while with Hairball John and Friends, but before we even start talking about Hairball Radio, let's kind of back up, since we haven't had you on in a while. Back up to, the time when you had kind of left it for a while, and what got you back in, and what got the juices flowing again.
Well, we were all doing our shows, and you guys have done what now for close to 30 years or something. I mean, you
not quite 25. It'll be 25 in 21. So we're into our 24th year right now. Yeah.
So we were doing, Chimpy and I were doing the show back in 2004, 2005, 2007. I took a hiatus because my wife was going through an illness and decided to spend more time with the family. And tragically, my co-host, the Acid Chimp, he passed away just a couple months later. And I just stayed away for about a decade, actually. It was almost exactly. And a friend of mine has an FM where he is a program director for an FM station. And he had been hounding me for a couple of years about, hey, you should come back and you should come back. And I really just really didn't have it in me. And then I was just, you know how it is like with you guys, when you sit around and you're just talking metal with friends and it goes on forever. I miss that. That's actually what rejuvenates me. That's when I feel the most alive, is when I'm doing that. And so I kind of tossed it around for a little bit and kind of played with it when I did Hairball of Vinyl, or what was I calling it? I can't remember what it was. Hairball of Wax, when I was doing kind of albums. And then decided to just kind of do it as Hairball John and Friends. And the idea was to have friends on, and friends would be artists, or friends would be listeners, and friends would be the idiot friends here, that I call home.
Well, friends would be good to have on our show, but unfortunately, Chris and I don't have any.
Yeah. You guys might make them, but you lose them really quick.
Well, you mentioned your Hairball and Wax show, and you did some debut shows doing that. How long did that last? Because I know that was something we had. I think that's actually the last time we brought you on, as you were talking about that, and obviously you said that it morphed into Hairball and Friends, but when did you decide that you were just going to just kind of maybe shelve that idea of doing just the vinyl thing and do, kind of branch out a little bit?
I think it's because I really miss the banter of having somebody else that's in there to talk with. The Hairball of Wax was cool because what I was doing was I was playing, an entire album, but in between I was playing segments of interviews that I'd done with the artist, which was really fun to share. But to be honest with you, it was boring to do. To not have somebody sitting across the mic or like you guys where you can see each other and have that interaction is, that's the fun part of it. Otherwise, when I do a show by myself, I'm like, the show stinks enough with two. Man, you take one and it goes down to just me. It's like, okay.
Well, Chris tried that when he wasn't allowed to do dirty radio anymore with his All the News, and it got boring for him like real quick.
Yeah, within a month, I hated it. I mean, it was fun. It was fun. The end product was fun, but doing it just sucked. You're just sitting there and you're like talking to yourself. It's like, ugh, this stinks.
Yeah, well, because you're talking to, you're doing radio. You're talking to no one for the most part. Yeah. At least you have somebody sitting across from you, whether they're breathing or not. It can be Weekend at Bernie's and the guy's got his toupee stapled on. As long as he's sitting across from me and I'm talking to somebody, but that interaction where you kind of it's that spontaneous conversation that comes up that is the best thing about your show and in any of the shows or podcasts that I listen to. It's because it's not scripted, and when you're doing it by yourself, for somewhat, you're following kind of a script inside your head.
Right.
Well,
you're right.
Me and Chris have writing meetings every week, and we have to come up with 6 hours worth of material. And boy, you should hear some of the bits that we work out between us, and what makes the cut and what doesn't. So it's a tedious process, but somehow we pull it off week after week.
I love the fact that you think your listeners actually think you write and that you meet.
Well, John, moving forward to Hairball John and Friends, this outsider looking in, but obviously you and I talk, somewhat regularly. It's not like you just came back and we're back. The show picked up, and it didn't just stay where it was. It picked up and got some accolades and has won an award and really kind of launched to next level than even you were at the first run. No?
Yeah, it's dumbfounding, to be honest with you, because I really do enjoy it. But I got back on FM. Reason why I wanted on FM is because, again, that interaction when I was on it before in 2003, the callers were a blast. I loved when people called in. And so when I decided I'd do FM again, and I got talked back into it, a friend of mine in FM, she said, "You're not going to get the callers." I'm like, "No, yeah, well, that's the whole reason I'm going to go ahead and go into the studio and I'll do it live on the station." And she goes, "You're not." And you know what? She was right. You just didn't. And everything came down to social media. And so that's when I started doing it as a show, and then it got uploaded, and it's in the process of syndication because it's got 2 stations right now, and a third one is picking it up. And and the award, Chris, and you and I both know that that's just crazy because it was broadcast personality of 2019 for as voted on by the Michigan Association of Broadcasters. And when the program director said, "You've been nominated for this," and I'm like, "Shut up!" And I hung up on him. I'm like, "Okay, this is a joke." And nominated, and then won it. And I'm like, all right. So I actually truly had to buy a tie, and I had to buy a jacket, and I had to go and actually accept this award. And it still seems like it's kind of silly, to be honest with you.
So they actually had a place where you would actually go accept an award. They didn't just like package it up and send it to you in the mail.
No. Yeah, Neely, I thought this thing was going to be basically you walk into like a conference room, and there's some people sitting around, and you walk up and you shake a hand and you get this plaque or whatever. No, this thing was huge. It was in Lansing, which is the capital here in Michigan, and it had 2 conference centers that were put together with the wall opened up for it. You had all of the TV and radio stations from, the high NBC and ABC ones all the way down to the independent one. And place was packed with suits and evening dresses. And I'm like, what am I doing here? This is way out of my league. And what's funny, and you guys will appreciate the most about this, is that before each award, they play a small clip. And if it's from radio,